Yo, what's up?
What is going on, gamers? Welcome back to another edition of Radio Melee. Co-host PPMD holding it down. Co-host Toph, how's it going today, man?
Hello, co-host PPMD. Yo, we got special guest Moky Doki, by the way, first of all, just to get that out of the way. What's up, Moky?
Just chilling, man.
One of my favorite Reeds guests. Dude, it was so sick when we got to have you out in NorCal for the show.
Yeah, no, I loved it, man. That was a great trip.
Yeah.
Was great. Remember watching Matrix the first time? That was nuts.
Dude,
Matrix is crazy.
that was really fun. Yeah, we did watch like 3 Keanu Reeves movies.
Yeah.
Randomly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like 2 years ago already, huh? That was a while ago. God damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, PP, dude, good to see you again. I guess
It's been so long. It
has been so long, and I should take this opportunity, I guess, to point out the obvious, which I'm sure your chat is already, they've gotten used to your new look, but for me, formally speaking, this is the first time, so liking the clean shaven look, just got to get out of the way.
Thank you. It's a true weight off me. Maybe not off my shoulders, but off me.
Well, it is off your shoulders technically, right?
Well, yeah, I guess like my shoulder, right? Yeah, it'll have to deal with it at some point.
Do you actually? Can I ask you? Do you actually feel physically lighter?
Yeah, it's one of those things where you shave and then your face does feel smoother and faster. You're sleeker. You feel the air. You really do feel the air, and then you get used to it, and it's kind of lame. But then you
shave because it's getting hot? I feel like it must be way cooler.
Yeah. It has warmed up. We've had I think a couple 90-degree days around here. I don't know what that is in Canada. Apologies. It's been getting warmer, and I kind of do it for a sub bowl every year. It's been tradition a couple of years, and so I try to get it done in the winter. So by the time it's fulfilled, it's starting to warm up, and I can be like, it really is not so blazing hot and humid here in North Carolina. I can pretend.
Right.
But yeah, if you guys have questions about beards or melee or fox or just something
Moky,
for high level player Moky. Please come into the Discord. Use !Radio Melee in my chat or Toph's chat to come in. You'll see what everyone's doing, asking the questions, and you'll get pulled in if your question's selected. We'd be glad to have you guys on in here. But yeah, Moky, you've been, really just a awesome rising player for quite a while now. How does it feel to kind of have still a bit of the underdog wind at your back, man, taking the dubs? How's it going, dude?
Honestly, it feels really good, especially because I didn't really get to enter much last year because of like internet issues and whatever. So to come back, and I feel like I'm doing I don't know, this year has been really good for me so far. It feels great to come back and actually do it well.
Dude, you
not just suck.
You kind of just breezed into Summit. Honestly, I remember commentating, and we're like, well, this is a toss-up, IBW versus Moky. And fortunately I was kind of rooting for both of you guys. It was cool that you both made it in, but it was just damn, it was just kind of, how did that feel? It must have felt a little bit surreal because it just
yeah,
a lot of people could grind it out through losers. And
yeah, no, it just, I don't know, especially with Cody, that set is always a toss-up. Me and him, we play a lot. He's probably the top player I play the most. Me and Cody we play a bunch. So yeah, I don't know. It just felt really good to it is kind of like a 50-50, but of course it feels good that the one of the times I win is when it qualifies for Summit.
right.
Pretty good time to have it go your way, right?
Yeah, because I lost at was it 4 Loco or something? I'll take losing there if I win the one that qualifies, I guess.
Yeah. Now you don't have to campaign. Are you gonna miss campaigning?
No, I told myself I probably won't campaign again. I can't do it. I've done it twice, gotten so close, and I just it never actually makes it through. I'm like,
that's brutal.
Yeah, it's gonna be brutal this time. There are, crazy list of players that still aren't qualified. Wizzy being one of the obvious ones, where you gotta feel bad for him because it's damn, he did so good SEL week 3, beating Zane and Mag when he's still not in. And I don't know, something tells me at least probably one or two of the Falcons are going to make it in via campaigning if they don't get in via the the last chance qualifier. But it must be a huge relief to just kind of have it over and done with.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, but it's it's not even just Summit that I'm excited for though. It's also just the fact that with Summit on the horizon, it also kind of means that IRL tournaments coming back, and I think that for everyone in let alone Smash, the fighting game community, I think everyone's really really excited about that. They just announced CEO for the end of the year. It's kind of interesting. CEO got announced for December this time around, not summer, but I was like, it's cool. We actually have some big majors that are slotted to get announced that likely will have Smash at them. So I'm pretty excited to start planning some travel again. Hopefully before too long.
Is there any player? Speaking of the IRL, is there any player that you, or players that you liked hanging out with in person, or anyone in the community that you goofed off with, or you talked strategy with, or that you rolled through with your crew? I don't know, man. I don't know if what the Moky crew is like. I'm curious. What are you looking forward to for IRL, man?
Honestly, I think of like the top players, I've always been kind of more on like the outside. Like I never really involved myself too much in like talking to people that much until quarantine. Like that, like I hung out with like Cody a lot. Prince Abu, unfortunately, was one of the people I talked to a bunch.
Good luck.
Yeah. But yeah, I think more so over quarantine, like I've forced myself into that more. I'm just like, yo, it's good. Cause I don't know, I just don't go out of my way to do that stuff much. So I don't know. I'm excited to just see everyone who I've just been talking to a lot. Like I go and like, I don't know, I talked to like Mango a bit more. I talked to just a bunch of people more. I'm just excited to do that because I just didn't really talk to too many people. I never really fit myself in there that much until now. And I just haven't been able to even see those people in real life for like a year. So
and
nice.
would you say quarantine almost kind of forced you to do that because maybe it was just harder to talk to people more in person, or do you think there was something different that encouraged you to do that?
I don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not the type of person to just go up and be like, "Yo, what's good, man?" Like I just keep to myself a lot.
Okay.
And then now that everyone's like grinding a lot now, so I'm like, okay, and now I'm doing pretty well, so I can just be like, "Yo, you want to play?" Or I just like go in people's chats and stuff more because I just have more time. Like I get so bored at home. Like I'm just gonna go in someone's stream and say, "What's good, man?" And yeah, so I don't know. I guess it's mostly that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I like that. What you're talking about how there has been more of a social element for you in Melee, and I mean, I think a lot of people have a concern, right? They're like, oh, well, I'm not good enough, so I'm not going to talk to anyone. And I mean, I'm sure maybe there was maybe a little bit of that went on here, but it also seems like once you hit a certain threshold, I think pretty much anyone's going to talk to you. I mean, there are top players that are talking to, just whoever in their chat anyway. So I think if you're Mr. Moky, I think you're in good shape. I think you got to worry about that.
That's true. Man, I guess we can start getting into the questions. There are some good questions in the Discord. Again, it is !Radio Melee if you're in either my chat or PP's. !Radio Melee, you're going to be able to join the Discord and just drop your questions in. Submit topics here is the name of the channel. I mean, we already got a bunch of questions. You can kind of just see what other people are doing. But I think we're about ready to bring on our first caller. So hello, who we have the pleasure of speaking to?
Hey, this is James from Long Island.
Hey, what's up,
James?
So, not much.
What's your question for us today, James from Long Island?
Basically, I was just curious about your guys' take on what it might take to get custom characters and/or custom stages legal in like a tournament setting. Because earlier this year, I felt like we got Slippy and then Akanea so fast, and it was all so exciting, so much attention on the scene, all this great content on YouTube and excitement. Leffen tweeting out, "I'm going to be the best wolf," and then they just dropped it. I don't hear anyone talking about it anymore. And like I understand why there's certain things that are sacred that we can't change, like rebalancing characters or whatever, but do you think that there's any future for that kind of stuff? And yeah, and then I guess based on how you respond, just why or why not?
Well, okay, so the one thing that's challenging, of course, well, besides Big N, which is a whole nother bag of worms, but like The one thing that is challenging is like who balances that stuff. Like, you know, okay, you look at like PM, like there was a dev team that was in charge of balancing the game. But who, okay, let's say like Wolf comes out and like maybe Wolf is like crazy overpowered or something. Like, okay, like who would be the person to, is it just Uncle Punch and the Akanea team? Like there would have to be some like governing body to actually be like, okay, this is how we're going to balance the character. Like, this is how we're going to patch them if the community decides they're, you know, like there would actually have to be some kind of government around it, right? And I feel like just that would open up so many questions as to like who would do that. Like, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's very hard to like properly like I think it's good for like side tournaments and stuff like that. Like it's really fun to mess around with, and that doesn't even like it could be like competitive and stuff as well. But it's so hard to get people like everyone in the community on board, or even like a majority on board with like such a big shift for like the casual like meta, I guess. I don't know the way to word it. Like just like the overall like the main rule set, I guess. It'd be very hard to get a lot of people on board for it because it would be a massive change. Like we've been playing the game for so long, like making like putting new stages in. Like people need to be super down for that. I guess I don't know.
Maybe stages could be like I think new characters is like a way like new stages is like here, new characters is like up here. Like new characters, I feel like would be really. Probably that will always be gated as like a side tournament kind of thing, like, you know, Wolf only tournaments, stuff like that, whatever, or Wolf legal tournaments. Custom stages, I could see potentially being adopted. Again, I think some custom stages are I think a lot of them are pretty dope. I think a lot of them are pretty fair. But I have my little idea, which was like, you know, imagine. I like the idea of having like seasons, and then like every season we add like 1 or 2 custom stages, and you can still ban them or whatever. But you just add like 1 custom stage or 2 custom stages to the legal rotation on top of what we already have. I mean, if you really think about it, we kind of already did that a little bit with Frozen Stadium. Like that's a change, you know. That technically is a stage change compared to what we used to run with. So I don't know. I could see it. Even that would require a lot of community consensus, though, and there would probably have to be some kind of team or something. Like, imagine it's like a panel of like some top players, like who, you know, would have to approve whatever the rotation would be for stages or something like that. And I just feel like no one is like the way this stuff has changed historically is like Fizzy basically just did it. Like Frozen Stadium, Fizzy basically just did that. He was like, all right, well. Flippy, we're doing Frozen Stadium, and that's just how it's going to be. And I was like, all right, okay, you know. So pretty much usually what happens is like someone has to like actually set a precedent for it. So like it could be a TO. A TO could say like, imagine Jogo comes out and he says, okay, Big House 10 this year is going to have this new custom stage. And it would have to take, someone would actually just have to step up and just do it, I think. That's the way I see it. Not that I think someone should per se, but that's kind of the way I'm looking at it.
Right. Yeah, I agree. There's going if it. I think the way these things often change is there's a community push for it, and it needs to be pretty favorable for a lot of people. And then I think a TO takes a jump after that, right? I don't think a TO wants to risk their livelihood on like, well, some people like it.
Yeah.
Not maybe the best long-term strategy in an already difficult world of Smash TOing. So I mean,
it's already a hard job.
Right.
It's true. That's true.
But yeah, I mean, there is always the looming Nintendo thing. Either they give us permission or we win a court case. Either one of those highly improbable right now. So yeah, that would be one part. But yeah, I mean, kind of the question of how do we agree on it, right? I think Toph talked about how there's a secret group. If we don't do a secret group, do we have a Twitter discussion? That always goes well. And if we have a secret group, Melee has never liked secret groups. We tolerated the Melee backroom.
Yeah.
But ever since then, I mean, there has been no shot at getting anything like that done. When we had the group of people that were trying to make rule changes that Blur set up, everyone was pretty not pleased with that.
Dude.
So,
yeah, we should just bring the Melee backroom back. We should just bring. Were you in the Melee backroom, PP?
I was in the Melee backroom, and I was in the new one. And I got Smash boards back. I was so happy, but then it was too late because everyone kept comparing the 12 or whatever to the Kingdom Hearts organization. I was like, frick, this is not our marketing strategy falling apart. But I'm not necessarily saying that is something that we have to do. And I mean, it's hard, right? Like, how do we make these changes? Like, there are so many varying perspectives in the community. I mean, even just stuff like you know, the FD talk or whatever. Like, there are just even changes that don't have the ban FD exactly. So even the changes that don't require all of the hoops and everything else are difficult enough. I feel like if we can get some kind of consensus in some way about these things, maybe that sets a type of precedent for the future. But right now, it's hard to say, right? And then so I think my last point, the last hurdle is how big of an impact does it have? If it's a stage or a character, because I was thinking about it while Toph was talking about it. If it's a top tier character, then you're going to have to spend so much time practicing against them, playing as them to learn how they work, that it's so different. But if it's like a mid tier, you're like, oh, okay, whatever. Who really cares if we add them? It's just like you spend a little bit of time and then you got it. And then if it's so if it's a stage that is basically like an FD for, I don't know, Fox or something. I don't know, the FD for Falcon. I don't know, like whatever, right? Like it works together really well for them. And we're like, oh, well, this changes a lot. I don't know. Or maybe some people will be like, all right, yeah, maybe that's really good. And then it just polarizes things more. I think that makes it harder than if it's a stage that maybe has a smaller impact or solves some other type of problem or whatever.
It also theoretically potentially could add difficulty, like a barrier to entry. Because imagine someone new, who wants to get into the game. If they have to go, okay, I don't know how easy it is these days to set up custom stages, but it's a little bit harder than just getting just the game and playing on Slippy. So I feel like if there was a degree to it where people would actually have to go out of their way to find some kind of mod or some patch or something, that would make it really confusing for new people. Because let me tell you, if you guys have ever talked to like new players that are trying to like get, it's already kind of hard because you have to like set up Netplay and stuff. So I would be definitely just hesitant. Like anything that like increases the barrier of entry, I would just outright say like that's probably a bad idea. Not to mention, it goes without saying, like part of the reason I think Melee is so beloved is because it doesn't get patched. So there's also just that element of like, I think there's always going to be some pushback from the people that are just purists that are like, well, the game's really good. It's been out for 20 years. Like, let's just honor that.
Sure.
So it's challenging. I don't know. It's challenging.
Yeah, I think if we went more conservatively with it, characters and stages had less of an impact.
Yeah.
And we find a way to keep it more low key or something, and everyone's just really loves it. I don't know. We get Waluigi, and he's just fun, right? He doesn't break the game. We just love Waluigi.
Waluigi.
Every time someone asks me, "What do you want in the game?" I'm like, "Frickin' Waluigi, man!" And I want him to win every time he jumps, like Mario and Luigi.
Like Sheik with the two. God damn it, dude.
No,
Are you
man.
I'm a Waluigi hater.
I think Waluigi.
I don't know why
funny.
people like him.
I'm with Moky. I'm team anti-Waluigi. I remember
It's still funny. When they
didn't put Waluigi in Ultimate, I was popping off. I was like, take that, Waluigi fans.
Heck yeah. I'm not like invested. I just think he's funny. I'm not really like.
I know.
I'm
Anyway.
not upset by this Waluigi hate. This is also funny to me. So yeah, this is fine.
I realize that it's all part of the package. Yeah.
Yeah.
I realize that it's all part of the package.
Yeah, this is only a win for me. But yeah, so I guess it just depends, right? If people really want that or don't want that, and then other people think it's funny, maybe that's a push for it, and then maybe something happens. But there would need to be some kind of force allowing it to happen. And I think there was force behind Wolf, and maybe that adds up to something more later. Maybe Wolf was the first, and maybe when Wolf is fully finished, because Wolf wasn't done yet. Wolf was in beta when we tried him before. Maybe when Wolf's done, maybe that changes the conversation. Right. So I don't know. I mean, there are things to still play out there, and more tools have been released. And so I don't think this conversation's done. And I think watching how it evolves is going to be pretty important.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, good question from Long Island James.
Thanks,
anything else you wanted to add, or any like shout outs you wanted to do, James?
Well, I guess the one thing I'd want to add is I understand there is something sacred about Melee that we should not mess with. Keep the game going as it is. You don't want to ever not see the top tiers in tournament or whatever. You don't want to screw with people whose lives are built around what Melee is and was. But I was thinking more along the lines of what PP suggests with Waluigi, like if you took, to
That's
make
what I'm
some
talking
room for
about, baby.
but like, I think Zane, he put out a tier list, and I thought it was like beautifully put. Where you've got like the top tiers, the high tiers, and then the weirdos. For Samus, and I'd love to
True.
see some like just sub weirdos, like like Link
Weirdo.
mains, someone like that who pulls out like
Yeah.
a Lucas or a DDD. I think that'd be cool, and it wouldn't upset anything too seriously. But no, I totally appreciate how difficult it'd be to get everyone on board with like how fair is this really?
Right. Just consensus,
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
barrier to entry, like you said, it's probably not worth it. But I was just curious about what you guys thought.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I mean,
Mhm.
it's worth considering. I think it's a fair question. And yeah, thank you for calling in. Do you have any shout outs on your way out, James?
Oh yeah, definitely. Shout out to Bikel, aka Mr. Fun, aka
Mr. Fun.
Mr. 50. Probably probably the only person I know who might accidentally listen to this. And shout out to Thony for being the guy that we're always trying to beat.
Thony.
Agree.
Got to beat Thony. One day you'll get him. You'll get him one day. And then
Yeah.
you'll look back and say, how are we ever having trouble with Thony? The day will come.
We're like right there. We're about to crack him. But anyway, thank you for having me on, guys.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, James. I want to know more about the story of Thony.
Is he from
Struggle.
Long Island? Who knows?
I don't know. Maybe he lives in one of the boroughs. No one.
Sure.
I don't know. All right. Well, we're about time to get our next caller on. What's up? What's up?
What's up? How y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
doing?
My name's Rice. I'm calling from Westchester, New York, and I have a question about fantasy sports. So,
okay.
A lot of traditional sports leagues like the NFL get tons of viewership and hype from fans' involvement in fantasy leagues. What do y'all think about fantasy melee leagues' potential to raise the stakes for casual melee viewers to tune into smaller tournaments? And if not the fantasy sports route, are there any ways that traditional sports use to grow viewership that you think melee is lacking in right now?
Okay, PP or Moky, do either of you guys do fantasy sports?
Nope.
Dude, I don't know stuff about sports.
You know anything about
I don't.
I was hoping you
So you're gonna save the day here, right? Toph?
Okay,
You
how
tell us.
does fantasy? Okay, so I kind of know. I know you basically put a bunch of.
I mean, I've seen some people in 2014 that were doing like melee draft of sorts, and
Well,
they
those
were
were
picking
those
people.
were fun because they had
Yeah.
you would basically you'd kind of predict how someone would do in a tournament or whatever, how you kind of predict the bracket, and then
Yeah.
you would actually stand to win something because like whoever did the best, like you'd win like a controller or something. Those were
Yeah, they
cool.
did it on
I
Reddit
did
at the
those.
time.
Those-
But you,
yeah,
but
and then
yeah,
they
but
did
people
them on
could do
Smash
them.
G for a while too.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Those were sick. I remember
Those were
I would
sick.
always get so close. I'm like, oh my god, like
Because there'd always be that one weird upset,
Yeah, it's like why'd this guy put him there? Like why'd this guy
Yeah.
get this guy? How do you know?
Those were cool. Well, I feel like what the gap between that and Fantasy League is that with a Fantasy League, there's like a carryover between like because with those it would only be for the tournament. So it's not like you were like you do your bracket for the tournament or whatever. You'd pick your you put like whatever, pick these players, pick this player, $5. I remember, by the way, it was really funny. I remember they used to do those and they'd always base them off of the MIOM rank. And I remember there was one year where Wobbles was inactive, so he wasn't ranked. So you could add Wobbles to your fantasy thing for like $30, like some really, it's fake money, but it's, really low amount. And I remember it was like, the secret was you had to pick Wobbles because he was so cheap. They did him like a random person, even though it was Wobbles. So there were always these loophole ways to get like a really good bang for your buck. Anyway, there was with fantasy leagues. I feel like there's actually carryover from tournament to tournament.
Well, couldn't you do that with the World Tour?
Yeah, you could do the World Tour. You could do it with like even like SCL or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. They should do it. I mean, Smash GG already has the software to do it. I know that they have the feature on their website, so I mean, they could totally bring it back.
I guess the problem, right, is you're not sure which tournament everyone's going to be at. I think because some people, I don't know how you work it, because not everyone goes to every one. And then even some of the larger ones, not everyone goes to.
Well, that's
and
just part of the challenge, then I guess. That's part of it, right?
Predict
Like,
someone does well
Yeah,
at the tournament,
sure.
they don't go. You get
Mhm.
bodied. That's
Well,
tough.
Yeah, even for
It's
like a
part of the
smaller
game.
scale, I could see that being sick for like SCL specifically, like something
Yeah.
like that, where like
Yeah.
you're predicting how they're gonna do, because it's like 4 weeks, right? So that'd be sick for something like that. Even if it's like a smaller scale, just like the month long like tournament series, like that'd be, like it would be
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be super fun. I mean, I didn't realize honestly, I don't know. And I mean, Rice, I mean, I'm not expecting you to have this sort of data, but it's like I don't know what percentage growth traditional sport like football gets from fantasy leagues. Like I don't know how much additional, because I feel like I know a lot of, like, for example, like a lot of my family members watch football. I don't think any of them are really invested in like fantasy football. So I mean, I'm sure it's overall like a fairly small percentage, but I'm sure that those people are pretty diehard, and I'm sure that it's like just another avenue that they use. Like I don't know if this would necessarily like bring in new Melee viewers, but I guess you're
That's
not
an
necessarily
interesting
asking that.
point.
You're just but I mean, I guess fantasy football is the same way. Like no one's getting into football because of the potential of fantasy football. It's just like a way for them to get more invested once they get their foot into the door, and then they're like, oh, this is like this way that
Yeah.
I can.
Because
So
my parents will do they'll do that for tennis. They'll do fantasy brackets for tennis. They'll do it, I think, just for individual events, but they like filling that out and comparing and see who did better. So I think there's probably but I mean they watched tennis for years before they did that. So I think that kind of follows what you're saying. But maybe if they talk to other people about it, like, oh, what did you do with your day yesterday or over the weekend? Like, oh, we spent time filling out a fantasy bracket. You're like, oh, for what? And then maybe that does something. And I don't know the answer to that.
some trickle down effect.
Yeah, so we can see if Rice knows that or if Moky knows that. I don't know.
We should do it. I mean, we should totally do it for like, even SCL or Smash World Tour next year or something. We should.
Yeah,
I agree. I think it's a cool idea.
Because even if it's cool if I like interject, like even right now,
Sure.
like I was thinking more so like you draft like a league of like for a whole season, like you draft players and it can go for like big events will be weighted more. So like other stuff would be weighted more. But it could also be to the effect where things like TMT results could help, or any local could give you points in your team, or if there's a way to integrate channel points to like boost your points overall, like it may be a way. I don't know, like if y'all think that could be a viable way to reach
channel
like
points.
spectatorship in, at least for casual like people that know about Melee, to like keep us kind of more invested in kind of smaller stakes tournaments. Like what do y'all think about that?
Dude, that channel points that channel points idea is, I think, really cool because it incentivizes you to not only be guessing regularly in like the polls for who's going to win, but it incentivizes watching, keeping, I guess, chat open for that too, so people are talking about it, and so that's higher engagement. So again, I don't know if that builds viewership or just makes it more interesting for the people that are there, or at least if you can get it in front of someone, maybe it makes it more interesting for them. And so we'd still have the initial problem of getting the game in front of them, which I think is a bit of a problem for us. But yeah, I mean, making it more engaging for some of the people that are only tangentially aware and can get them more involved, I think is a pretty cool idea, right? Like there are some people that only watch majors. There are some people that only would watch like Evo or only watch Genesis or something. How can you can you use Genesis if it's at the beginning of the year to say, okay, Genesis is the start of our draft,
Right.
and so then you're like, oh, well, now I suddenly care about locals, or I care about these other nationals, or whatever. And so that's kind of an interesting idea to kind of pull those people that are more only aware in the larger things to stay more interested. And I think I do think that's an interesting idea when you put it that way. And I really do like the integration of channel points into that. Do I exactly know how to do it? No, but I think I like where the idea is, where the enthusiasm is with it.
Yeah, TLDR. I think we should just do it.
Yeah, and I know another part of your question was other ways that sports do things to build viewership. I don't know what those are, so I can't answer that. You'd have to tell me.
They do like, they got like big billboards and stuff. Golden
We
Gardens
got
did that.
billboards.
We got billboards. Yeah, we got a billboard.
Dude,
recently.
easy. All right, Melee.
Yeah, so we're already doing it. We're doing it. Everything. Yeah, I think we just. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, obviously there's a ton of money that is in marketing. That they're on like traditional TV, which still gets insane viewership and stuff. And
Yeah.
obviously we're not typically at that level. There have been a couple Evos here and there where they'll put Street Fighter Top 8 on, ESPN or whatever, but typically that's not really a thing. But I mean, yeah, I think a big part of my thought process lately has been how to get Melee in front of the eyes of other esports fans, casual gaming fans, things like that. And I think there's certainly, we've talked about this in some previous episodes of Radio Melee. There's definitely stuff we can do, appealing to streamers and things like that,
Yeah.
So hopefully we can start doing some of that stuff soon.
Rice, was there anything else that you thought that Melee could do? I mean, you said the other ways. I assume that you watch other sports. That's why you're asking this question. So if there are other things like that do you think Melee could adopt, I'd be interested in hearing it, because that would probably be a better way to go than us going like, yeah, fantasy sounds cool. I kind of know what that is,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's gonna be an early shout out to my friend Neil, but he was mentioning like maybe some sort of like contest in between games or something, sort of like a halftime show that like would go on in like basketball games, and that might get more engagement. I don't know, but yeah, I feel like just thinking about ideas of like how to get more engagement from people that are tangential to the scene, or maybe have not heard about it, or who want to get more invested but just don't have something like stakes for it. I think that's is just like I'm really interested in kind of like figuring that kind of part out.
I'm really into that. There were talks a couple years ago. I remember like pre-COVID of like how to make like, and we've kind of done some experimentation, like Big House, I think it was 6. There was kind of like a pre-show segment before the matches during Top 8 where they kind of talked about the players. And I think the one critique that it got was that it did run a little long, but I don't think we necessarily honed it as well as we could have or refined as well as we could have. I thought it was kind of a neat idea. But basically it was like, imagine you tune into a stream and like, there's like, I feel like if you don't know a lot of the players, like it's kind of like, it might be challenging for someone just tuning in to be like, okay, if it's not like literally Mango or Hungrybox or Leffen or something, like they might not know everybody. So like ways to kind of introduce, like here's a match between two players that a more casual viewer might not be the most familiar with. And I feel like having ways to make those viewers that are tuning in, give them someone to root for basically, or at least a reason to root for one of the players, like stuff like that, I think could go a long way. And I think we're just scratching the surface. I think that esports in general actually has had a problem with that. I think the best esports organization ever at that sort of thing was probably, I used to watch OGN's productions out of South Korea, and they were really, really good at doing these little short kind of content segments where they'd kind of like hype up the players and they made them look really, really cool. And I don't think most esports leagues I've seen, like in 2019, 2020, 2021, I feel like there's a big gap there, and I don't think anyone's necessarily doing it right. And I actually think this is something Melee could work on, because I think that Melee in general is a video game where like our top players have a lot of personality. Like I think a big part of the reason people are so drawn to Melee is there actually is a lot of like people are attracted to our top player personalities, and they like it's just kind of, they're a little bit more visible than like maybe tier 2 League of Legends players or something like that, or where there's so many people on a team that are being rotated in and out all the time. You don't necessarily know all the players except maybe the star players. So I actually do think there's a big opportunity there. I totally agree with you. But I mean, that's a conversation that I think we'd really have to flesh out. But you're raising a lot of good points, I think, Rice.
I guess I'd throw in one more thing I was thinking about while Toph was talking real quick. I don't think we should do the halftime show idea. I think we did some stuff, like we had shows like I think Diz Kid Boogie performed, and I think some other stuff like that
That's
happened.
fun.
Yeah, it was cool. I don't know how much that did for retention or things like that. So, because when I think of like a halftime show, I'm often thinking of like Super Bowl and how everyone's talking about that. So I'm like, well, what do gamers really want, like a Super Bowl halftime type show? No, I don't think so. I think I mean, maybe some do, but I feel like wouldn't it? It'd be kind of funny if we had. I don't know if we do like prepared types of like because we can't all do like BTS skits between every time or whatever.
Right.
But I'm like
Yeah.
I'm thinking in that type of vein. Like if we had some type of like Ludwig, you laugh, you lose type of thing in between, like top 64, top 8, right? And it's like, oh, well, this is something that like some people might just come for, and then maybe some people will stick around just because the content's interesting, right? So, for example, some people come to watch the show, and then maybe they stick around because the channel's still on. They watch the rest of the football or something. But Moky, you look like you had something you wanted to say.
Yeah, because that's a lot like the roast, right? Like they built the tournament around the roast of
Yeah,
that's
what
a
was
good
it, at
point.
Summit. So it was similar to that, I guess, right? Because there are people who wanted to watch the roast, and there must be some people who wanted to watch that, and they just stuck around for
Yeah.
whatever else as well. So
Yeah, I think the outside stuff. I mean, that's a great point. I think the outside stuff can have an appeal, and we just have to find a way to make that work.
Actually, speaking on the topic of like Ludwig and those guys, I actually thought Slime's, back when Slime would do interviews and stuff at Summit, those could be fun.
Yeah.
I bring this up from time to time. I had a coworker who wasn't a Smash player at all.
Oh,
Who
yeah.
was really into Slime's interviews.
Yeah.
And when he found out that I did stuff with Beyond the Summit, he's like, "Oh, do you know that guy Slime? He's so funny with his interviews because he's kind of awkward and on purpose." And I was like, "Damn." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm such a fan of that guy." I was like, "Wow." And that could be a thing, because that kind of that could showcase like personality for people and stuff like that. And it's low effort. It doesn't require as much production as like skits and stuff like that.
But still very smart. What Slime did was very smart.
Definitely. Yeah. I
Does
miss interviewer Slime.
Yeah, same. Does that answer your question? Okay, Rice.
It definitely does. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. You got any shout outs for us?
Yeah, I got to shout out my friend Neil again. Both of us have been talking about this fantasy sports thing for a minute now, and we might honestly start one up. So
Do it.
tune into Reddit, see what's up. We might post something, but yeah, I just got to give a shout out to Neil. He's the GOAT.
RSSPM. Yeah. All right. Take it easy, Rice. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
See ya.
Man. Yeah, it's a cool concept. I do miss those leagues. I don't know where they went.
I don't know where they went either.
Yeah.
Because I think people always enjoyed them.
I always did them. Yeah, I always entered them. I literally always did them.
I remember always like everyone would put themselves too. So if you do bad, you feel extra bad. You're like, man.
Yeah, I tanked my own.
Isn't it weird though? You could like throw and manipulate it or something. I guess you can't do the other.
No one. Yeah, but I mean, well, no one.
If you're that dedicated, go for it.
You just love Melee so much, you're willing to become a top player and throw for fantasy.
If the prize was that good, right? If the prize for the fantasy, it's like
the controller hunt's too real.
You really need a new controller, and you're like, man, I could win the tournament, or I could throw right here and get that new controller. That's something you might have to think about. I don't think anyone ever did that though. But anyway, I think we're about ready to bring on our next caller. Hello.
Hello. How's everyone doing today?
Doing well. How you doing?
I'm doing A-okay. So let's start with my name, right?
Please.
Yeah.
My name's Rox. My tag is Bop Rox. I'm from Niagara region, Canada side.
Nice.
Respect.
Region, but shout outs to it all. And I'm one of the staff for the Netplay for Palestine tournament, which big charity event happening this Friday. I know that some of the members of Golden Guardians have said that they're planning on participating in various ways. So getting into my question, I wanted to ask you guys, considering Melee is being used as a vehicle to do good, I wanted to know your thoughts on the event and how has Melee been a vehicle for good in your lives?
Good question. I guess I can start. Yeah, first of all, I will say that I am commentating. That's going to be this Friday. Is that the 21st? I think it's the 21st, if I'm not mixing my dates up. Yeah,
yes.
Friday the 21st. So I'll be commentating at some point. But yeah, I mean, I think it's it's a pertinent question for me because I remember back in what was that 2012? I think it was 2012 when Scar started up Melee It On Me. And I think that, just the internet in general was very different back then. I mean, it feels like not that long ago. And simultaneously, it also feels like a very long time ago. But, I think that just the overall, way people joked back then, the way people talked on forums and things like that was overall just a little more toxic. And I think that a big part of what kind of this also just helped Melee's growth because I think it just made the community more welcoming, but there was a big sense of when it was, I think, largely Scar and also Prague back in 2012 that were like, hey, we got to change the way we talk. There are, pejoratives that we throw around it's, they don't matter, that we really need to step away from because we're alienating people and we're making people, even if they're not speaking out, they're feeling bad. And we should, even if other gaming scenes are behind the times, so to speak, we should be, we should be the pioneer. We should be, Melee should be the gaming scene that kind of promotes, being progressive in this sense. And we can show other people how it's done, so to speak. And I've always thought that was really cool. Because
what a wonderful point. Yeah, that's an amazing perspective.
Yeah. And with regards to the tournament, this weekend, you look at a guy like, Free Palestine, well, used to be known as Millhouse, and now his tag is literally Free Palestine. And we had him, he was a longtime rival of the Reeds. He would challenge us every episode pretty much. And, getting to talk to him and kind of make friends with him over the years. It's cool that, and, he's obviously a very beloved member of the scene. And, yeah, I think it's there, I think generally speaking, it's kind of neat. I think one of the unique things that Melee has going for it in this regard is that we don't have I don't know. You look at I guess this is pertinent with IGN or whatever. They put out that tweet. There was hey, here's ways you can support the ongoing crisis in Gaza, whatever. And then they had to delete their tweet and all that stuff. So we don't have a formal governing body in the way of a game developer or publisher that might want to stay, advertiser friendly and ignore those sorts of topics. We don't have anything like that. We don't have a Riot or a Blizzard or a, Blizzard, Lord knows, when a lot of Blizzard had their fair share of drama 2 years ago with regards to the Free Hong Kong stuff. And they had to shut up about it because they're, partially owned by Tencent. And, it was this really awkward time because a lot of the members of, for example, I remember the Overwatch team, Jeff Kaplan, who doesn't work there anymore, but he was like, yeah, I don't think we should have banned that player, but I have no say in it. And I mean, I'm sure that some of those people at Blizzard, I mean, I have no idea what happened behind the scenes, but I can only imagine that it was a very awkward time for them and their Tencent, which owns the company. Melee doesn't have anything like that. So when we want to do cool initiatives like this, or Homemade Waffles had the Black Power Invitational, or was that the name of the I think it was just called the Black Power Invitational, but that event a couple months ago where it was kind of a lot of solely black players and commentators and content and stuff like that for a couple days. That's something that he did that was really awesome. And yeah, I think we're in a unique spot to be able to do stuff like that because, whereas if we were more hands-on controlled by Nintendo, they might not want to bring that sort of press because it can be advertiser unfriendly, we get to just do that stuff without really caring about it. But yeah, what do you think, PP Moky?
I'll let Moky go first. I don't want to ball hog shut our lovely guest out.
Yeah, no, honestly, no, I agree with that. Because yeah, I guess that's honestly a plus side of not having again just kind of developer support is we're able to do tournaments for charity and support charitable causes and just good stuff. that I guess if we had them, they might
without having the red tape in the way.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I don't know. I think it's really good that I'm sorry, I don't have too much more to add than Toph kind of
Can I ask a follow-up question on the same topic that maybe Moky you would want to expand on?
Okay, yeah.
And of course we'll get back to like the main question of what was the good that Melee has brought in your life. Sort of like just thinking about what Toph was saying with like the governing body, like, do you think that Melee might come to a point where it's so sponsor driven that we might get like that, where sponsors might step in and stop this sort of discussion?
It's an interesting question.
Yeah, no, I guess it just depends on like what the sponsors are, right? It kind of depends on like what sponsors are getting into it and how big Melee's growing and everything too. Because I don't know. Yeah, I'm not too sure.
No, that's fine. How about circling back around to the question of what good has Melee brought in your life? Do you have any stories or anything like that that would really show that?
Oh, just Melee in general and like the community?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, because I'm sure that your life is something that's worth bringing good things to, and I'm sure that Melee has done so.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's especially like I don't know, because I've been through like some like rough kind of stuff like the last couple years. So having the community there as like just kind of, I can go to tournaments, get away from stuff, and just something to work towards, either just for like a job or a hobby, or just getting out of the house and hanging out with people. It's I don't know, it's been a very nice escape / like just thing to work towards, and it's been like all my friends are from Melee. Just my job is Melee. Just basically everything in my life that is like good is from Melee. So it's just been yeah, I don't know. Melee's just really sick.
I was thinking about how like
yeah.
Oh, sorry, PP, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I didn't know if this was going to get, if anything remotely related to this was going to get brought up, but yeah, I mean, when you talked about that stuff a while ago, Moky, I mean, that was really rough, man. So I really am happy to hear that the community was able to help, and that, you have support, and you're feeling fulfilled and working towards that stuff. And I think it's really been paying off, right? Like you've been having great results. You're getting into Summit. I think that's wonderful. And I think that's something maybe a lot of newer players or fans or spectators might not know about, but yeah, I mean, you never know who's on the other side of the screen and what they've been dealing with, and you've really overcome a great deal, and I think that's very respectable, and for Melee to be able to give to you like that, I think it's absolutely wonderful.
The way I've always felt about it is like I realized this when I moved to I spent a year in Japan from 2010 to 2011, and I thought it was really neat that basically the first weekend I had free, because I had the Melee community, like I was able to find like a group of people, somewhat near to me, and like immediately go hang out with them and like have like a community that I know if push came to shove, I could call like my friends in a relatively short amount of time. And I think that's pretty unusual. If you don't have like a community like that, that you feel like could have your back, you can find yourself kind of alone at times. And I think that Melee's always made me feel through my adult life since I've gotten into the game, like I'll at least always have the Melee community to kind of get my back, no matter where I go. If that makes sense. Obviously there's places in the world where they don't play Melee, but yeah, it's like a support network.
It's shrinking now with Slippy. I think it's even that space of no Melee is shrinking as well, which is great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And going back to what Toph said earlier with like opening up the community more and making it more accessible, you're like you're giving that goodness to more and more people who really need it, which is
I want to share it with people.
Absolutely, and that's like something absolutely amazing. Yeah. And then PPMD, I haven't really gotten your take yet. I would love to hear more from you.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate the floor. So I guess I'll start by talking about the event. And I think so, we've been given an opportunity as Melee. We've been given a chance to grow. We built our personalities. We've gotten sponsored. We have more influence now. And I think, and this is something I've kind of toyed with, and I think it's true to an extent. It's not a requirement, but it's something that exists. And I think in a way we have more responsibility, having more of the power. And I mean, there's a quote from a certain superhero story that's related to this, but I love that we have a chance to give back and really set an example, not just for our own community, but also for other communities, and also to show that gaming can be something different. I mean, that's something that GDQ will try and show as well. And so I like that we have the chance to do that. And I like we have the power to make that type of choice and really have that type of impact. And but for the event itself, I like that it's so collaborative, and I like that there's not like everyone wants to do good for it. Everyone says, what can I do to kind of help out with it? What can I give to it? There's not necessarily like what's my compensation for this necessarily, despite it being like this type of event. Everyone's like, what can I do to help? How can I add to this? And I think some of that is related to the past of Melee, how there just wasn't any money and we just wanted to, we did what we wanted to do and that was it. And I think so. I think that's there's some humility there from knowing that, and I think
humility
also
from grassroots.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also just the community is just, among esports, I think the FGC in general is more diverse. And I think our community is pretty diverse as well. And so I think having more perspectives and having our understandings challenged more allows us to think, okay, well, we're thinking of the position, the feelings of other people more often, and how can we try to make things better for them? And so I'm glad that this is something that's being brought up and we're talking about it, and we can try and add to it and make things better. So that's what I have to say about the event.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your thoughts on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Any shout outs you want to give? I mean, certainly other people involved with the event and stuff like that, I'm sure, but go ahead.
Of course. I'd like to give shout outs, and I'd also like to give my own personal Melee moments, if that would be okay.
Sure.
It's helped me out. Big shout out to my friend Venus. She is she's the whole brain behind the operation of the Netplay for Palestine. I actually met her through the Gale Discord server, and we've been getting along really well, and I know that she's listening in, so shout outs to her. And shout outs as well to everybody from my local scene. Shout outs to Dare, Sven, everybody at DKM, Cadabra Guy, and the people who run Brock Melee, all that sort of stuff. And I'm just going to I'll give you my story. I think that actually as a specific story, I had met well, not exactly met, but Moky. I had seen you in passing at a Frozen Phoenix tournament, and I believe that this was in 2016 or 2017.
Young Moky.
Yeah. And we were both you were wearing a pink long sleeve t-shirt, and I was wearing a pink sweater. And I just walked up to you and I said, "Hey Moky, I like your shirt." And I got treated to the biggest smile. And I sometimes I just whenever I think about good moments that have happened to me in Melee, I think about that time that I got to make Moky smile.
That's wonderful.
Moky does have a very charming smile.
Moky does have a
it
very
just happened again.
Charming smile.
Of course.
The double.
Yeah,
the story that keeps on giving, man. I love it.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that the best part was the very serious Melee player in the zone face into this bright, big smile. And yeah, for me personally, through some of the hardest moments in my life, Melee has been there for me. And I'm glad that we can use it as a vehicle to do good for other people as well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Would I be able to link the smash.gg page into the chat for everyone?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, you can go ahead and do that. That should be pretty simple.
I got no problem with that.
Yeah, might even be able to advertise it on the, once this vid's up on YouTube, we could, you could leave a comment or something. Maybe we could respond or something like that as well.
Awesome. Awesome.
But yeah, that's
Thank
going to
you
be
guys very much.
May 25th, this coming Friday. If people are watching on the YouTube video.
21st. May
what did I say,
25th is
25th?
this upcoming Tuesday.
Yeah, May 21st. May 21st. Yeah, May 21st. I think I said 5th because I was thinking 5 because Friday is 5. But yeah, May 21st.
It is 5. That's true.
Yeah, 5 day. Yeah, hear everyone call it that. Thank you guys so much for having me. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
Great to have you.
Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, looking forward to the event for sure. Shout out to Canada Melee. I do miss going to Canada tournaments just in general. I used to go to a lot of Is Niagara in Ontario, Moky?
Yeah, it is. It's like
Okay.
Niagara is like I believe to my knowledge. I'm kind of dumb with geography stuff. It's like because near Niagara Falls. So it's like it's like near the border, but like
Niagara Falls. That's the only thing I know about Niagara. It's got those waterfalls, man.
Yeah.
I've only seen it in photos, but you've been there?
Sorry,
like not that far from you, right?
Have you been there?
Yeah, no, I just went there for what's it called? And we went to a casino because they have the casinos there. I put like $5 in slots and I won $100. And I'm like, I'm never going to another casino again.
Never gamble again.
Anything. I'm good with
Your
this.
peak. You've peaked at gambling, but the melee peak's still not here yet. So don't cash out.
Yeah, still going up and up. All right, about time for our next caller. Looks like we got someone waiting and ready to hop on. What is up? Where are you calling in from?
What's up? It's Handwriting from Richmond, Virginia. And my question is that as someone who has kind of recently become interested in trying to mod my own controller and potentially even starting a modding business, I think the future of controller modding will change when LAN returns, especially with the launches of the box, Smashbox, Frame 1, Panda controller, as well as the standardization of UCF.
Great question.
I want to say quick shout out to one of your latest videos, Toph, about opening up the GameCube controller. That's kind of what got me started about like thinking about this stuff and realizing it's not as scary as it seems.
Hey, let's go, Toph.
Wow, that's that video. I didn't even put that video out that long ago. So okay, so this is I could start by saying, I think so my history with IRL controller modding is I remember Big House. I think it was 6. That was when this was pre Gumi, Gooms, Nez, Rien, the OG North American controller modder. Okay, the OG controller modder period is Cardano. Gotta give credit to Cardano. But Typo was at the venue, and Typo actually had his own table. And I'd never seen anything like this before. I remember thinking like, oh my God, you're telling me this guy's gonna fix up my controller for me? I could just get, there's like an actual person because people knew about controller, like notching and stuff like that. People kind of knew about it, but the people that did it, they all did it themselves. I remember the first guy to ever do it was, or one of the first competitors that ever did it was Sung from Team Moxie, like in SoCal. And Sung like was talking about, notching and stuff like that back in like 2013, 2014. And so I was like, wow, okay, so this is an interesting concept. This is like a real business. And yeah, I think it definitely, like if you look at the way controller modders work at tournaments, like they will work pretty much all weekend because there is a huge steady supply of people that want their controller worked on. And, if you can work quickly, I think you can make a bunch of money off of, a lot of different people who don't have the barrier of having to ship you their thing. You could just do it then and there. So yes, I don't think it's going to be really any different from how it was before COVID, but yeah, I think controller modders like always do really well at tournaments. And if you're trying to make that a business, it's a relatively young market. It's a niche that is pretty unexplored in a lot of ways. I think the box and the Frame 1 and stuff like that, obviously there's going to be people who don't need your services because they play on the box, but I think the vast majority of people are still going to play on GameCube controllers. Even the Goomwave, like the Goomwave makes it more consistent, but like there's still gonna be a ton of people who like want notches or like they want like, the clicky like mechanical triggers or something because they feel good. You know what I mean? Like there's always gonna be some potential there. So Yeah, I think it's a big opportunity for sure. You do any of that stuff, Moky? Are you like a controller dude?
I don't know much about. I have a really nice controller. I have 2 nice controllers. They look really dope. They look really sick.
Yeah.
So like even like I don't know. I think regardless, yeah, like you said, like people are gonna want the actual like the mods that help you in the game, like the functional mods like that, like whether it's like the triggers or notches or whatever. People are gonna want that regardless. But even if there wasn't, like hypothetically, if there wasn't a world where people wanted that and we didn't need them, like people just want the controller to look sick. Like
yeah, they
so,
still
like,
want the
yeah, regardless, like people would want
graphics.
like some kind of stuff done. So
Yeah.
I think regardless, there's always going to be like a market for it.
Dude, that's a really good point because I remember when I used to go to like ultimate tournaments, like there'd be people at ultimate tournaments that would just do cosmetic mods, you know, like sick looking, like look at the like pearl blue triggers and buttons and stuff, you know, like there's always gonna be something, you know, bald buttons, cast resin, C-sticks of different colors and stuff like that, you know. There's always gonna be some because people just want to stand out, you know. So yeah, there's a huge market there, and I think that the best thing about having IRL tournaments for the modder is like you don't need the shipping. It's just all there, and there's a ton of people who all care about it. So it's like free. It's free marketing, and it's a free. What's the word I'm looking for? There's your demand right there. Your demand is brought to you. So.
And even like on like a local scale too, like whenever like one region, like whenever a region has like just one dude who mods controllers, everyone's like, damn, this guy's like, he's just the goat.
He's our
like,
guy.
This guy is like our guy.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. So like even on like a local level, that's not like majors, like just in your little like city or wherever, like people are gonna want you to help them out because Melee players are dumb, myself included. We don't know how that stuff works. We don't know how to do anything ourselves. So we are down to pay someone to make our controller sick and work better. So
yeah,
100%.
I mean, I guess to add on to a little bit of this, I would say there are maybe some challenges to get into it. I mean, you guys kind of covered, I think, a lot of the pros, but I think one of the challenges, from my understanding, I talked to Nez about this like a little while ago, and maybe the thinking on it has changed somewhat, but he was saying that he had to go through, like, I think he might even said, like, you know, hundreds of controllers to get his consistency down. He had to go through so many, and he had to just he would botch a mod job, and then that's it. That controller is gone, and he has to just keep working at it. So that's tough, and so that's a lot of startup as well. You have to get the skill down to do it. That apparently is hard. Now, I don't know how true that is now. Maybe the tutorials got better. I don't really know, but that seems daunting to me. But even if you're fine there, the Goom Wave is going to make it so you might have to do not have to do certain things or do them less, from my understanding. And then even if you can do it okay, I think if you're not fully consistent or the work isn't quite high quality enough, like if you're consistent but the result isn't always there or something like that, I think that really deters some people. So like there are some modders that I'll hear about and people will be like, this is good, or people will be like, the same one's not good. And sometimes you'll just hear wildly different opinions. And I think that's probably because the consistency isn't there. And so I think having that down is going to be really important. So these are real challenges. And I think when people say, you know, who can I get a guaranteed good work from? If you can deliver that, I think then I do think everything does go your way. But I think that is an important caveat that you or anyone else getting into this needs to know up front.
Yeah.
And so there are other things too, like if someone wants to nerf GameCube controllers, and maybe they nerf boxes as well in some way in the future, and then there's just less things that you can do, that also could impact you. So you might be at the whim of some of that stuff. And so I think, you know, one solution to some of that is kind of what you guys have talked about already, is the cosmetic work. And so there is, I think the more extra value you can provide there, right? Like no one's going to say you can't make your controller look pretty and you have a beautiful sparkly pink cord. No one's going to care. So you could always do that. And so I think there are various things that you can do to make it still work, but I think the quality probably needs to be there first. I think that's what most Melee players care about. If you want to go safer, you could go cosmetic. I don't know anything about that. I don't know if that's easier. I don't know if, you know, what artistry level is required or if it's kind of different. I don't know anything, but I think if you could do both, you're killing it. If you have consistency for just the regular competitive mod work, I think you're going to be fine, but you need to be looking for the changes coming down the line. So that's kind of my feeling on it. What you guys think about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think it's pretty interesting to think about like the difference between the cosmetic mods versus the technical mods and how and also PP, you definitely brought up a lot of good things that I didn't really consider ahead of time. Some of the cons, some of the setbacks that could potentially be there.
Yeah, I'm
So,
not telling you not to do it. I'm just telling
well,
you
yeah,
you got to
yeah.
really be into it if you're going to do it, because it's not as easy as, oh, I'm just going to cut something in this gate and then it'll be and then free money just
Yeah.
flows forth. Like it's if that was the case, everyone would be doing it. Everyone would be doing their own even. So we're paying for a lot of experience and a lot of skill here when we're paying what we're paying for it.
There's definitely like a that's the cool thing about it on the flip side though. The cool thing about it is there is like a skill. It's almost like playing the game, like you can get very good at it. And you can become very respected and trusted, and you can really kind of cement yourself as someone who you'll get a lot of business from word of mouth, because the best players will want the best modders because they can do things that the other ones will be inconsistent at. I mean, even up to a very high level, like I've tried different modders notches, and like there's a lot of variance even among the really good ones. So
interesting.
You can really you can really distinguish yourself, and you can really get a loyal customer base, I suppose. So I think that I think it's a very interesting pursuit because you can set yourself apart almost as if you're a top player yourself,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, Toph, thank you for putting out that video. Keep putting out the quality content and good
Appreciate
stuff on the new content for all you guys.
Thank you.
For
Yeah,
sure.
everyone go subscribe to my YouTube. Watch my controller video.
Subscribe to my shout out is Toph on YouTube.
Also,
You might have heard of him.
sub to the Golden Guardians YouTube. Please
That one
click the
too.
button and the bell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for calling in. Handwriting, do you have any final shout outs for us on your way out?
Yeah, shout out to the homie Eddie and the homie Miles. Eddie just had his birthday, and Miles' birthday is coming right up. So
Heck yeah, happy birthday, gamers.
Happy birthday.
See you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we got any more, or is that what are we looking at here, Toph?
Yeah, let's see what the schedule's looking like. Who do we
No more callers.
That might be it for this week. Okay.
Well,
yeah, I think that's about it for this week. We had a lot of good questions.
Did I just hear two more, or am I crazy?
I heard no more. I heard no more is what I heard.
Okay. Fair enough.
From the voice from the heavens.
Right.
But is the kind of thing where I'm seeing a lot of these repeat questions, sometimes from week over week. I'm seeing a lot of there's a lot of dedicated fans of the program that haven't necessarily been dragged on yet. So if that sounds like you,
unless you're talking about the Rick onesie.
The Rick onesie, yeah. I look, again, if you're watching on YouTube, we love you guys, but stop by one of these Tuesdays at 3 p.m. because 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. East Coast time, because I notice when the same people, kind of come in successive weeks or whatever, and they want to get their question asked, I do notice, and we try to prioritize those people a little bit. So, who knows? You might just get to talk to us one of these days.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
What's
been on your mind lately, PP? Moky?
Moky, do you got any burning thoughts that you want to talk about? Otherwise, we got questions for you, but just want to see how you're feeling, man.
PP always brings some questions.
No, I don't know. I've just been chilling. It's been nice after SCL, just like it's been hectic with just some stuff I need to get done, but it's been nice to not have to grind Melee, because even before SCL, I realized that everybody was grinding a lot for SCL, but since last year I was really rusty. I've been grinding a month or two on top of that, and I'm near the end, last 2 weeks, I'm oh my god, I'm so burnt out. So it's been nice to relax a bit more.
Did you going into SCL2? Did you feel or I should say, going into the period where you started grinding a lot for SCL2, did you feel wow, people on average got better, and I need to make sure that I kind of stay ahead of the pack, so to speak? Was there any of that?
I think some people got better and some people were stagnant. I don't want to just
sure.
shit talk, but
totally.
I think the general Melee player base is a lot better right now. There's a lot of people at the top level and behind the top 10, in that kind of range, the top 20-ish range, where it's they're like more known because of Netplay, and they're a lot better. I think.
Yeah.
I didn't play a lot of them before, but I don't know.
Right.
They're really good.
Yeah.
So
I've definitely noticed just even playing, you know, like random people in Discords or on Unranked or whatever. I'm definitely noticing like there's certain things that like a year ago or 2 years ago, like if you're doing this technique, you're like one of a very small number of people. But now it's like everyone's going for, you know, stuff like, you know, I ran into this random Falcon who would like on Unranked, who was like, he'd like crouch cancel, dash up, grab me, like the way like 2 years ago, like pretty much only Wizzy and Ed were doing that. And now it's like, dude, yeah, this like guy on Unranked is doing this, and he's really good at it. Actually, I was like, you never would have seen this like 2 years ago. So
yeah.
definitely feels like a little bit. There's a little bit of a change. People, what'd you have? What'd you have for Moky?
I mean, several different things. We were keeping with kind of the theme of all of the unranked, or not, keeping the theme of all of the online talk. Excuse me. I guess the unranked just taking over my brain for a moment there. Just too powerful.
As it does. As it does.
Yeah.
As it does. Yeah. You said that you were having internet troubles, and then Moky, you were saying you had internet troubles, and then you weren't able to really play so much. And it doesn't really seem like you've had such a hard time still kind of like improving your overall results. Like you didn't just get back to where you were, you kept going forward. Were you doing a particular type of training during the time when you weren't able to play? Were you watching and analyzing a lot? Did you just take time off and you were like, okay, well, the break was good for me, information integrated into my mind? Like what really happened there for you?
If I'm honest, the like last year, I don't know. I wasn't able to grind really, and it was just I wasn't really motivated that much. Like I was more motivated to stream more, and like I was trying to like get better at streaming and do that kind of stuff, because I was like I can't really properly play and like I don't know, get better in the way that I want to, and it's just like yeah, it was more so like I wasn't really trying to get necessarily better at the game much last year. Like there was like little moments where I'm like, okay, this I'm gonna try to like grind and everything, but it wasn't like a consistent. It was just like here and there I would like grind a bit, and I was still playing. Like I was playing like unranked, and like I would play whatever, but it wasn't like dedicated practice. And doing that, I had like a lot of bad habits. So I think I like during that year I declined a lot, and then I kind of like I put a lot of effort in. Come like 2021, and I started putting a lot of effort into grinding. I think I don't know. I saw a lot of improvement. So
yeah, and I would say the work you did for your stream really has been paying off for you. And I think some of that's related to the success, but some of it's related to the work you put in on it too. I know that you're working on your YouTube now as well. Everyone go sub to Moky's YouTube.
Definitely.
And so I'm kind of curious, what got you interested in working on that? Was it just you wanted Melee to be more financially stable? Was it that you felt that having that brand would kind of give you like more presence when you're playing against higher level players, because they're like, oh well, this guy's got like this org behind him or this number of viewers, and so that means it must be this good. Like what's your thinking when you're trying to put all that time into streaming? Because most players just want to play and they don't want to think about any other stuff. And I mean, some players still do that, but I'm kind of curious what your thought process was going into starting focusing more on the streaming.
Well, because as soon as I got out of high school, because I started playing Melee while I was in high school, and my goal was I want to try to do this for a living. And I was like, as soon as I got into Melee, I was like, this is what I want to do. And since I wasn't able to, I was pretty lazy about streaming before that. I actually didn't really like streaming that much until last year. I didn't enjoy it that much, but then something clicked. I'm like, okay, this is really like, I really like this. So I think it's something, I don't know. I really like just like turning on stream, like talking to chat and everything. But every year after high school, where I take off, I took off like a year from high school, like afterwards, not to go to school, like college or university. And because I just want to focus on Melee. And then every single year I was like, okay, maybe I'll put it off one more year because it's starting to look a tiny bit closer. Like I'll do one more year. And then it keeps kind of looking closer and closer to being able to be like really comfortable with it. So and in order to, I guess, to answer the question, in order to actually be super comfortable with it in Melee a lot of the time, you need to build a better presence, and to do that, streaming is kind of like the main go-to, right? So
yeah. Well, it's good you're having fun with it too, because if you weren't, that'd be pretty brutal. Because you want to make sure you're enjoying your time in the community and enjoying the grind in all aspects. And I think if that really burns you out, I think that's going to make it harder to compete and everything too. It's going to tear you, right?
Yeah, it'd be brutal not liking it.
It.
That would suck. Yeah.
I'm glad you do. That's really cool. I mean, it has been growing, so I'm happy for you for that one as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's all about I feel like it's something that a lot it's new to a lot of smashers, the content grind and things like that, and I feel like you have to have fun with it, because otherwise it becomes about the numbers and then it's boring and it's miserable.
Yeah.
But if you have fun with it, you make it focus on the art form, that definitely helps
for sure. And I guess that segues a little bit to some other stuff that I wanted to ask about. Do you have any goals? We'll start with content, but or
good question.
Or like that. Do you have any content goals, or do you have any goal? And I mean, I'll ask you about other things beyond that. You can answer it however you want. Do you have goals for Summit? Do you have goals for your overall skill? Do you have, what is Moky looking for by the end of 2021? What's Moky looking for in 2022? Right.
So when I got into the to Melee, I wanted to be able to live off of it, but I also want to be the best, so I want to try to just see if I can do that, just get as good as I can and hopefully become the best someday. I think I can if I put in a lot of effort and I keep dedicated. In terms of content, I want to focus on YouTube more, because I don't know, it's very hard to do YouTube stuff. I don't know, it's hard to make good YouTube comment or content that people want to actually click on as a Melee player, or you're kind of just sitting there playing Melee a lot of the time. So I want to, I guess, focus on that stuff better. And then for Summit, I realized, I think the last couple weeks of SCL, I was very nervous, and I would play a bit differently in bracket than I do in practice. And I just want to try to force myself, even if I feel nervous and I'm like, oh my God, I might lose this. This is going to suck if I lose. I just want to try to force myself to play and do the stuff that I'm working on. And if I lose, I lose. And just because I think that's how I put myself in a better spot to win, I guess, if I force myself to do that kind of stuff. And I'm noticing myself not doing that. So that's kind of my goal for Summit, and just my next couple tournaments. If I notice myself kind of slipping out of what I've been working on, just force myself to do it, even if that ends up being the reason I lose, just try to do it anyway, because I think that's how I'll see better growth.
Yeah, and I love, and it's so good that you're bringing this up, because I think there are a lot of people that are like, oh, if I just play enough, that sort of stuff will go away. I hear that sometimes, or if if I just take a break, then I just come back, then that'll just go away. And no, it won't. You have to actually do something about it.
Yeah.
And Moky, who's still having so much success and at a very high level in the game, is realizing this is something that is no longer avoidable. This is something that needs to be focused on, and he's going after it. And he doesn't, and he recognizes this could even hurt him some, and he's like, but I know this is worth it long term, because he understands, the growth process. So I think this is really valuable for a lot of people, and so I'm really glad you brought it up, man.
Yeah, agreed. Dude, can I ask you even I don't know how much you keep secrets in terms of gameplay and stuff like that, or how willing you are to just talk about random, stuff you've been working on. But are there any things that you were so you mentioned okay, even if I lose, I just want to play the way I was playing, or I want to do the things I was working on. Are you down to talk about what some of those things actually were?
So I think the main thing that I always struggled at is I play very extreme. Either I'll be extreme aggro or extreme defensive. Usually it's extreme aggro. I think that's my go-to. When I agree. When I get nervous and I'm stressed, or I'm whatever in match, and my brain kind of flips off a bit, because that happens to everybody a bit, especially in a tournament. So when that happens, my go-to, I just start running at the guy, and it's wow, this is not what I want my go-to to be at all, because it's just, I'm just kind of running at him the same way. I keep doing full hop nairs and stuff. So I'm trying to get that and kind of mend it a bit and make it so I play better, kind of I mix it up better, and I'm not just super extreme aggro or super extreme defense. I'm trying to make it playing the in between more, and
a little more balance.
Yeah,
it's really good. Yeah, that sounds really productive to work on. I love your usage of it's even if I lose, because I feel that's been even for me, I think having something like that to fall back on, going to a tournament and having a gameplay related goal outside of just I want to place well. I think it's really, It's really helpful to kind of reframe things, put things in perspective, you know?
Yeah,
Because then you have something, even if you underperform, at least you have something you can be proud of, you know?
Yeah, because like if you have a placement goal, you're like, I want to make top 8, and you get like 33rd, you're like, wow.
Yeah.
that was not exactly what I wanted to do here.
Yeah.
So
if it weren't for that close 3-0, I'd have made it, man. Messed up. Yeah, but I mean, talking about gameplay a little bit, you are not one of the Foxes. I don't believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that was thinking of switching against Marth. If I don't want to ruin your day, so if I'm not allowed to talk about Marth, you can stop me. But
I'll let you.
Okay, thank you. I'll do my best. I'll walk on eggshells. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you have an eventual plan for that. If you're eventually planning on switching or doing something, or you think it's doable. I know you do have some kind of no Marth emote, so I know that you're not a fan of the character, and I'm hoping we can encourage you to feel empowered versus him. That's why I asked the question.
So I've thought about it before, and I think there's like a future where I might, depending on how stuff goes. Yeah, a future where I might, but especially with the goals I was just saying in terms of like the stuff I need to work on, I think Marth exploits that harder than possibly any matchup. Like it's like my specific kind of stuff. He exploits it really, really hard. So I think regardless, like just focusing on the matchup right now would be very beneficial for me. Like the Fox Marth, because it was just, I don't know, he beats it out of me. So I want to see if I can get better at it, and if in the future it looks grim, then maybe I'm not opposed to it, but I don't want to right now. I'm not looking to right now.
Yeah, and so when everyone else was switching, was that still your same thought, or were you like, maybe, dude, Sheik having the grab and getting the hit, dude?
No, when everyone was switching, I still exact same thought process, but I was more mad because everyone came in my chat and were like, "Yo, are you switching?" I'm like, no, I'm not switching, man.
Come on.
The peer pressure. Marth definitely eats you up if you're predictable. Whether it's offense or defense. Yeah. I think it's cool to frame it like that. It's cool to take something where it's like it's about your performance in terms of like, what are you going to do to beat this character in a tournament, and make it about, well, no, I'm going to use this as a vehicle to improve, and kind of take something that's extrinsic and make it intrinsic. I think that's a really healthy way to kind of keep it, keep the eyes on the prize long term, That's pretty cool to hear. It's pretty cool to hear. But yeah, that character is bullshit.
I hate him so much, man.
Speaking of characters we love, what's your belief in Fox's potential, or is that something that's still up in the air as you learn more about Marth?
Potential in the matchup, or just in general?
Just in general.
I don't know. I don't know. I try to not. I don't know. I usually don't put too much thought into stuff like that much, because I do think like every good character is like pretty good.
Yeah.
And I think if you like, I don't know, me personally, if I start thinking about that stuff, then I trip myself out a lot. I'd rather just be like, okay, like Fox is good. Like he's not a bad character. He's good. Right. He could be. I think he's like first or second probably. Like I don't know, but I just try to keep an open mind about everything melee related, because I think that's like the healthiest way. Like, because you never know. Nothing's factual,
right? So. And so I think that's a lot healthier than saying it's impossible, or like you're like, I have room to grow in this, and at least until I've done so much, then I'm not going to make a determination on that. And so you're also not spending time thinking about that. And I think I think a lot of other players felt like you did, and I think with streaming, so many people come in and it's easier. It's such good discussion bait to be like, oh yeah, well, I think this character wins, or I think this character is the best, or this character is so much worse than everyone thinks, or whatever, right? And I think a lot of people eat that stuff up, and so I think it's good that your response to this is, I don't really think about that. I think that is a good sign for you, and I just and even if you did think about it, I think it's fine, but I just wanted to kind of see where you were at on it, so that's good.
Isn't that kind of how you used to operate, PB? That was my impression of you back in the day when you were seriously competing. Is that you didn't put too much stock into, or is that the wrong read?
No, I would say it's kind of true. And then I did this weird thing where I would not think about it too much. And then when we're on Smashboards and everyone was like, dude, I hate Falco, he's so good. I think it was part of that, but also partly this like, I was one of the people that could see the issues with the character, and so I would overcorrect. Like one time, some people were even trying to just mess with me, and they're like, "Well, Falco would not be like he just wouldn't be as good without a laser or whatever." And I was even still just like, I would just argue against everything everyone would say just for no.
You were
So
just contrarian.
Yeah, and I didn't, and I was just so, and it was not healthy. But I finally had to just start saying, okay, well, look, people are gonna have their opinions about it, and I need to just focus on what I needed to do because like that type of discussion about tiers and everything has really only gotten louder and more ingrained over time. So so that's why somehow right. We definitely don't use it for content or anything, which is So it's we have to really be guarding our minds on that one. So I'm really glad that Moky is.
Yeah, I think honestly one of the things that makes Melee so cool is the fact that people do have different opinions about everything.
Yeah.
Like if you ask like top players, like their tier list is going to be different than like not necessarily like I think we all agree on like what the good characters are.
Well, M2K does have Marth at 6th or 7th.
That's the beautiful thing about Melee, man.
That is the enlightened response for sure. Yeah. That's not what everyone says to that. That's how you know Moky's a competitor.
M2K's got some thoughts on things for sure. Yeah,
yes, he does.
Thoughts on things. It is wild sometimes. Oh man.
Oh my. But I guess I'll ask you one more. Just switching gears a little bit. We're talking about potential, talking about what could be. And I think you none soon say probably others that I'm not even thinking of are really doing a lot for Canada. There used to be some really strong other Canadian players doing a lot to put Canada on the map. And I was kind of curious, what do you think the potential for Canada is to become like a strong region? And I mean this maybe in two ways, like the two ways people talk about it. So the number of high level players, but also like the depth, the number of just good players like throughout. Like SoCal has a ton of depth, for example, but they also have a lot of higher level players, and that's kind of changing some. But I think like what's your sense of that as someone that lives there and has played a lot of people there?
I think I obviously am biased.
Sure.
But I do think Ontario is one of the regions with low key some of the more depth to it.
Okay.
Because we have people who like are even like right behind PR level who can beat like top 100 players and stuff, and like who have, and it's just like sometimes you just play like this random dude who's just from like a random part, like an hour or two out of Toronto, and you just play and you're like, holy shit, man! Like this guy is why is this guy so good? Like he should not be. And like I know like me, soon say none. Like I think there's a world where like all of us are like top 10. It doesn't even seem like that could be like that far off. There's a world, not that it's gonna happen because that's hard, but there's a world that's a possibility.
Right, that hasn't been done in history. Like no non-USA place has had that. I mean, Canada hasn't had anything like that. If that happens, that is absolutely historic. And so that's part of why I really wanted to ask you about this, because I mean, I think the story's been a lot about none, and I think you're making so much of a case for yourself right now, and then Soonsay is starting to do a lot of it too. I think it's very interesting to talk about Canada more right now. So I really wanted to get your perspective on that.
Yeah, no, I think that is a possibility. Like, because I think me and Nunn, like right now, I know Nunn's struggling a bit, but he's like he's that good. He's just he had other stuff going on.
Yeah,
he's like, obviously like me and Nunn are pretty similar in skill level, I'd say probably. And then like Soonsay's on the come up, and then we have other people who are like in the region. I don't know, our region's just really, really good. Even people who aren't on our PR are just like really good, and sometimes they'll just beat someone insane. We're like, like it doesn't really surprise us that much, but like realistically, like they probably should. Like this guy who's like not on our PR, like he has no business beating him. Like how do you do that?
Yeah. So that's cool. So I mean, it really does sound like because I think like we hear about like Armada and Leffen, for example, coming out of Sweden, and then like it can be different sometimes, and so I like they were really good, and there weren't even very many players that even played in Sweden back then. Like it was just just them. So like I didn't know to what extent like you guys were just popping up somehow, or if it was more of a like it's just the overall strength of the area. And I mean, of course, Sweden's getting much stronger now. And this is not to disparage Sweden, obviously. But it sounds like there's a lot going on for the depth of that place. So I think Ontario, at least, I'm not sure. Are you all from Ontario? Forgive me for not knowing that.
Sensei lived in Ontario, but he's actually from Alberta, and he's in Alberta right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it's more of a general Canada thing, I guess. So that's really cool. So
because even Elliot, he's from like BC. He beat HBox at one of the last tournaments.
Oh, the Falco, right?
Yeah, because he's just from BC. He's just
Cool.
it's just like damn, like he's I think he's like 1 or 2 in BC, but it's like people don't like know. People just he's not super on the map in terms of Melee, and then he shows up and he gets a big win. It's like wow. Like I don't know.
PNW people know him. I met that guy when he was 9. I remember meeting him at some BC local. I used to go to BC tournaments all the time with Silent Wolf and in Vish. And yeah, we all remember him from when he was like single digit age. Just his dad would bring him to tournaments, and he was just this little kid, and now he beat HBox. He's kind of still a little kid. I think he's like 17 or 18.
Oh my.
He's young in Melee years for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's a wonderful round of questions. I mean, I can ask more on the Toph if you got anything. We can also call it. I don't want to take too much of young Moke's time here.
Yeah, no, I'm satisfied, man. I thought we had some great discussions. It's cool to get Moky on the program.
Absolutely.
I felt like I haven't had it's just been, we've all been so kind of separated since COVID and stuff, but it's cool to get a nice long talk with you again, my man.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's been a while. I can't wait for the next LAN thing.
I know.
We'll have to watch another Keanu Reeves
definitely
at some point for sure.
Definitely. Maybe Summit.
Yeah.
Movie night at Summit. All right.
Yeah.
Well, looking forward to that. Thank you so much for coming on, Moky. Really appreciate it, man. Thank you guys so much for calling in. Everyone that hung out, everyone that's going to be watching or listening online to this later. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Always coming through Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. This is Radio Melee, signing out.